I think it's inappropriate for a man to be dressed as a woman. I think it's inappropriate for a man to get a boob job and to slice off his appendages and act as if he is a woman. I think that's wrong. If I saw a man doing that in the pub, I'd say, come on, mate, sort yourself out.
Well, he hopefully wouldn't be chopping his own dick off in the pub.
No, but, but back in the day, if a man turned up in the pub dressed as a woman, the blokes would say, what are you doing? Come on. But now it's like, oh, are you okay, my darling? It's like, what? No, that's not a woman.
Hello and welcome to episode 2. Woohoo, we made it! Of Fox and Father with me, the Fox, and him, the
Father.
Very good. We'd like to thank our new sponsor we've got this week, me, who bought the cigars, the phallic cigars that were talked about last week.
What was that, honestly? I do like that we had a number of reviews for episode 1. That was very nice.
Good.
The Lefty Rags, Independent, Indie 100, The Poke, and some others that I can't remember the name of. It shows you they've all...
Unheard.
Well, we'll get to Unheard because the Lefties first.
Yeah, right.
They all said, oh, cringe. The intro was cringe. It's like, okay, cool. But you're all using the exact same ad hominems, which suggests that you're all kind of colluding or it's just copy and paste weak journalism, lame journalism. But it's nice that they at least watched the intro if they didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, they did watch the whole thing, some of them, I noticed.
I don't read the review.
There was a girl, well, you either you sent me a review or someone else sent me a review, and I've never seen so many adverbs and long words that I didn't understand.
So this will be the Unheard one.
Right, yeah.
So Unheard, I wouldn't say are leftist. Unheard are probably centrist.
Yeah.
Unheard are owned by the same chap that owns GB News, of course, for disclaimer. But what's interesting to me about that is that the only outlet that purports to be on the right, I don't know if it is on the right, but the only outlet from the right that reviewed our show attacked us in a lame ad hominem. I think, Mary is quite reasonable in
Who's this, Mary Harrington?
Mary Harrington is quite reasonable in her assessment of the content, which she was quite fair on. But then she obsesses over the cigar for like the whole article. It's like,
she should come around on a Sunday lunch.
But this is it.
Like, we sit and smoke cigars
these are
all
not
day.
props. This is what gentlemen do when they're hanging around together, having a conversation, smoke a cigar, have a drink and relax. Like,
I still think you're a pound shop Andrew Tate.
But I've never even seen an Andrew Tate video.
Anyway,
as if I thought, I want to do what Andrew Tate is doing. We are the exact opposite of Andrew Tate, for goodness sake.
I wouldn't say there's too much in common. Anyway,
but on that, it's just interesting to me because the right always knocks the right down, right? The left encourages each other, supports each other. You put something out from the right and everyone else is like, I need to knock that down because I need to get up there. It's like, where is the support and the encouragement? Where is the criticism, constructive? It's just phallic devices trying to be Andrew Tate or something. It's like, come on, seriously?
We're persona non grata anyway, Calv, you know that.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those of you who didn't tune in last week, this is the format that I came up with, which I'm really proud of. I have an envelope in my pocket with a story in it. Calvin has an envelope in his pocket with a story in it. We give it to each other and we discuss the stories. We don't know what we're going to talk about. And then lying down there on the stool is one that Theon has picked. So are you all right for a shout out, Theon? Arsehole. I mean, I love you.
But firstly, how's your week been?
Oh man, whoosh. My week has been hell. Absolute hell. But what did I do? I went to the mostly peaceful marches on the weekend, and I tell you what, they're terrifying, I would say. You joined the terrorist sympathizers on the streets. I went, well, the thing is, they were like 2 minutes past my house. I thought, I'm going to go out there and see them. Yeah. And then because there was some intimidating, there are pockets within these marches of, by the way, these marches are totally unpoliceable, but there are pockets within the marches of some pretty aggressive, fundamentalist extremists, and that should terrify people. And the police have no control over it whatsoever. So I just thought, after a while, I'm going to stand in the middle of the bridge. This is my bridge. You're shutting down our city for the weekend, and Lizzie was obviously like, please can you step to the side, please babe. And I was like, no, it's the bridge, and this guy's coming up. I got a couple of death threats right in front of the police did nothing.
Of course.
In the end, when some guy was chanting for yet more massacres, he got arrested, but it took like 70 coppers to protect him from the mob.
I saw this. The guy who was saying that Hamas are terrorists, which is a fact, they're a prescribed terrorist organization in this land. The guy that said that was arrested.
He was arrested and then de-arrested and because I think they're genuinely scared of the mob. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. So they're just terrified. And, I know the police get a hard time, but I think it's just the top echelons of the police that I've got major beef with. Officers themselves, I think, are probably all right. But so I did that. I'm so done with some of the judiciary. I just think it's a really dangerous game to play if you start going. There's two-tiered policing, there's two-tiered justice, there's two-tiered everything, and that makes me pretty stressed. But I don't need to overly go into it. How about you?
I had a good week, thanks.
Of course I did. You always have a good week, bastard.
I spoke at a conference in Australia. I did it remotely, so I didn't have to travel 30 hours, which was wonderful. Great people, very sound, very orthodox in their faith. And for all the issues that I'd normally get cancelled on, they were speaking on those issues. I was like, this is good.
That's good.
What else did I do? Oh, I went to a formal at my old college. So I went back to Oxford for Edward King Day, which was lovely. Saw a lot of old friends and my old lecturers and whatnot.
Who's Edward King?
Edward King is one of the founders of the college that I went to, but he used to be a bishop of, was it Lincolnshire? And he was an Anglo-Catholic. He started the Anglo-Catholic movement, essentially, or one of the people that did.
Right up your street.
Yeah, right up my street. Bringing Catholicism back to England, essentially.
Is that the answer? They're now saying that it's only Catholicism that's going to save the West.
I don't know. I think Christ is the only thing that can save the West.
Yeah, but Christ.
I don't know about any particular model of the Christian faith. I think the Roman Catholic Church in particular is seeing the same problems that the Church of England is seeing, just not as bad.
Church of England. Maybe we'll get onto that.
Okay.
Whose envelopes? Who's coming out first? What's the rules again? I can't remember.
I don't know, but here.
All right. Oh, look.
Have a treat.
Flash envelope. Flash envelope alert. All right. All right. Okay. Surprise, surprise. Lee Anderson defects to Reform UK as Beth Rigby challenges 3 red arms there. I want my country back, says Lee.
Don't we all?
Yeah. What do you make of it?
I like Lee.
Yeah.
He's from my neck of the woods. My first job was in his constituency. He speaks exactly like all of my family speak. He has that down to earth, like, I don't care. I don't like it. I love that. Just says what he thinks. I don't know how he ever made it into the Conservative Party, because they do not like people who say what they think, and he's been in trouble a lot because of it. It's interesting to see him go over to Reform.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
I mean, they're just like the Conservative Party from 10 minutes ago, right? So it's not really a radical move. But
it's nice that it's shaken up a bit. I mean,
I understand it.
I'm pretty circumspect about Reform for many reasons. One, the Ticey supporting the mandatory vaccination of care home workers. Yeah. That for me is like, I'm never going to forget that.
But has he repented of that?
No, he hasn't. Okay. So that's the thing. Issue. All you need to do is just say, I made a really big mistake and I'm really sorry. That's all you need to do. And people go, oh, thank God. And then it would go away. But I think until he does, it will never go away. And then also the fact that he phoned up Galloway, which makes me think he'd take anybody, which makes me think the party lacks an identity. And I'm really, really confused by this one in, one out policy, because if you've got a one in, one out immigration, it's like, what's going to happen? An English person's going to go, this country's gone to the dogs, and leave, and people are going to come in. And England already feels like a airport hotel to me anyway. You know, one of those, when you get stopped over an EasyJet, so they give you one of those minging hotels at sort of some weird Eastern European airport, and you have to go down, there's millions of people speaking different languages, and it's noisy in the corridors, and you just can't relax. It's horrible. That's what Britain feels like to me.
No, I think we need a moratorium on immigration. We need no immigration at all for a while, for a number of years, until we figure out what we're going to do, if we're going to have any at all. That's illegal and legal immigration. We're over capacity. It doesn't work anymore. We've had 13, 14 years of the Tories saying we're going to control immigration, we're going to cut immigration, we're going to cap immigration. They've done none of those things. So we need a radical action.
Because they think by bringing in migrants, they're going to prop up the GDP, but it's GDP per capita as opposed to GDP.
No, I just think they're not very good politicians. So I don't think they've actually done anything. They haven't accomplished or achieved anything. The only thing, anytime you ask a Conservative politician, what are you most proud of? What have you accomplished? The only thing they can ever say is gay marriage, because it's the only real change they've made.
Which must thrill
to our
you.
Society. Well, it's not. It's because they're not conservative. But it was probably something that Tony Blair planned for and David Cameron just pushed it through. They haven't achieved a darn thing.
They're the same people, Tony Blair and David Cameron. And then their latest idea is to bring back Boris. I just think, what is... Like whenever anything goes bad, let's bring back the guy who was partying after locking us all down and all that sort of stuff.
Well, to be fair to him, it was his team that were partying, but Boris is the one that won the election for them, and they stabbed him in the back, therefore showed themselves to be untrustworthy.
They're all untrustworthy. Here's my other problem with politics and the establishment is cozy. And, what do you have to give up in order to get into that little group? And then there's the other final difficult problem, which is we're now just guaranteeing Labour a bigger majority so that they can pass all their rubbish.
I don't even know about that. I don't think people want to vote for Labour any more than they want to vote for the Conservatives at the moment.
Yeah, well, I don't think people want to vote for politicians at the moment. So it's nice that there's a shake-up, and there are, as we say, there are some good people in there. I think I can back Ben Habib. I like Ben. I think he's a smart guy. I'm just anyone who wants power makes me very, very nervous. But I think Tory MPs generally, if I was a Tory MP now, I'd definitely leave.
No, the thing is, Lee kind of got pushed out, didn't he? None of the people who are in the Tory party right now are going to leave and go somewhere else across the floor. Well, yeah.
A bridge into Reclaim.
Right. Yeah.
Before Volvo Gate.
None of them are bold enough to leave behind the establishment.
Why? Because
they care more about the establishment than they do about making a difference in the country, most of them. I can count on one hand the amount of politicians I trust. I'm not even going to name them because one of them might let me down in the next week. So
yeah, there's definitely a paucity of decent politicians that you would have thought that it's a complete open goal for someone to come in, an inspiring conservative backbencher young person who's got some ideas to come through and go, this is what we're meant to do. That's what it says on the tin. That's what we've got to do.
But there aren't any because the backbenchers are all weak anyway, because the whole system of the Conservative Party is to enable yes men to get in so that there's no one rocking the boat and that the leader gets to do whatever they want, which is nothing. So there aren't very many strong individuals on the benches to begin with.
Well, they just get to do what they're told to do by the civil service and CCHQ. I don't ever...
CCHQ is the problem.
Yeah, I don't ever feel that politicians are putting before the country stuff that the country wants to do, and it takes actually people outside of it, campaigning organisations and media, to wind them up enough to get them to do stuff. We've got Liz Truss has put forward a bill on education in schools, which is interesting because we've got one of those coming along now. He thought probably could have done that when you were Prime Minister, couldn't you? So that's I don't know with Lee. I think he's I like his I want my country back.
Yep, it's a good line.
Just and I do agree with you.
How we feel, right?
5-year moratorium, but literally that march must have been best part of 1 million people. And it's this odd mix between, people who are genuinely concerned about Palestine. Then you've got the masses, like a huge number of the sort of middle-class white socialists, London elite lot going along with them. And then as I say, you've got these pockets of some very extreme people. And this guy was right in my face. He's like in my face a few times.
But the thing is that the far left and the far right are uniting in this horseshoe shape of politics. Many of the people out there are the far left. They're also the metropolitan liberal elite, but also the far right are aligning with the Islamists because they hate the Jews so much.
What do you mean?
Well, so just today, for example, I had that old racist Nick Griffin attacking me on Twitter.
Oh, you can call him a racist because it doesn't mean anything anymore.
But he is racist.
Not defaming him.
Saying we need to see your DNA, Calvin, because it looks like you have allegiances with. Essentially, he was trying to call me a Zionist, and I'm like,
what is a Zionist?
Well, it doesn't matter about him because he's irrelevant. But the message in general is what I'm hearing from the far right now. Like, I put Christ first, and then I put my country. I'm not aligning with Israel, but I am against Hamas. I think I have many misgivings about Israel, but I think in that region of the Middle East, Israel is the only democratic, liberal democracy, and the Jewish people have a right to live there in peace without Islamist terrorists destroying their home. And I don't think that makes me a Zionist. And if it does, then so be it. But to say I need to see your DNA test because it's like you're putting Israel first. No, I'm putting Christ first, and then I'm putting my country first. And the people that are aligning with Hamas terrorist supporters are not putting their country first. They're putting their hatred of Jews before their love of the country.
It's really, it's like a complete, and Gad Sad was saying it this morning in a tweet, he said, we're witnessing a complete moral inversion. Like everything that you thought would make sense is being totally discarded, and everything that you think actually matters is insane is going on. So we've got a world where, you know, we're transitioning, telling children they can be born in the wrong body, where we're not condemning the brutal murder of a bunch of people. There is the, you know, fuck around and find out element to what Hamas did on the 7th of October. And I just think that if we're going to sit there and say, you know, it's pretty easy. I mean, God forbid that I'm any, you know, global superstar of geopolitics, but one would imagine if you release hostages, you're going to get a ceasefire. But my suspicion is that there's probably bits of those hostages left, some of them. And, you know, who knows? But
I detest international affairs. I don't like foreign politics. I only care about my country. And I know that sounds selfish, but I'm a Brit. I care about British politics. However, on this issue, people keep pushing it in front of us and saying, you need to address this, you need to address it. You can say, I think it's wrong for innocents to die on both sides. You can say, I think it's wrong that children are being killed on both sides. You don't have to take some kind of political allegiance.
And it can be nuanced. You can also say, yes, the number of Palestinian children that are dying is larger because Hamas build their command and control structures underneath children's schools and stuff.
Absolutely.
It's just not, we've got to be able to have conversations where you can hold two thoughts in your head at the same time. Indeed. Everything is a source of division in this modern world. You're either pro this, you've got to be on everyone's side for everything, and it's like, ball off.
And we can pray for peace. Peace is the most important thing. However, a ceasefire immediately does not bring peace, because Hamas have shown time and time again that they will betray that ceasefire when it's convenient for them, as with October the 7th. So Israel does need to clamp down on the terrorists. It needs to happen.
I tell you, you know, imagine if it happened in this country. Oh, actually, no, we'd just sing Don't Look Back in Anger at a concert, wouldn't we? Because we've lost all belief in ourselves and our national identity. I agree with you. 5-year moratorium on immigration, and then you've got to have a discussion about deportation. Because why should we've seen Laken Riley, is that her name in America? The girl who was this guy, he was an illegal immigrant. He flew into New York. He got in trouble in New York for attacking somebody. He then went down to Georgia and murdered this. And he was caught, and he was you know, charged, and then he was released, and then he went down to Georgia and he murdered this woman. And it's like, I don't if anyone from a foreign land comes here and commits crime on British soil, it's straight home.
Deportation, yeah.
That's it.
That makes sense, right?
You would clear quite a large backlog of the prisons, which the whoever the prisons minister is saying they're going to let prisoners out months early to try and clear the backlog in British prisons. Great.
But also, these people on this hate protest that you attended, all these people that hate our country, hate our values, that support an organization that is a prescribed terrorist organization, they should be deported. Like, if you don't like what we have here, why are you here?
They don't like what we have here. That's the problem. And that's where my frustration is with you, is not with you, but I share it with you, is that it's, we've got no sense of identity and no sense of pride, and we don't take ourselves seriously about anything. So it's like, arrest the guy who's saying the Hamas are a terrorist organization. It's like, what are you doing? Who is giving these orders? Mark Rowley. And then the police do this whole, it never happened. We de-arrested him once we knew. It's like, come on, guys. We can see it. It's on telly, thanks to Ink Monocle and a bit of me standing around having people do death threats in front of me to the cops.
It's all the mistake of thinking that multiculturalism is a good idea.
It's a terrible
There is
idea.
a predominant culture. It is British culture. And even that, people on the far right will be getting upset because they say, no, it's English culture. And people on the far left will be saying, we don't have a British culture. It's like, we live in Britain. We have a British culture. It's a good thing. It's something we should support. And the people that say there isn't one, I would say, yes, culture is intangible. It doesn't mean we can define it instantly, but we know it when we see it. And I put out a tweet this week because, you know, we look at Japan, we think, yeah, Japanese culture, we all know what that is. It's like they bow, they dress formal, they speak formal, you know, they drink tea. It's like, you can think of little cliches, little stereotypes, but all those little things together make up a culture, and they protect that culture. And if you and I could go move to Japan tomorrow, we'd never be Japanese. But they would appreciate us living there as long as we took on board Japanese culture.
Well,
now, Britain's the same.
And what's this diversity shit that, sorry to swear, that get shoved at us all the time. What I was trying to think to myself, and I think Alison Pearson said it in her article, what is the opposite of diversity? Unity.
Indeed.
It's like, why should we have diversity?
Right. So diversity is watering down or replacing.
And it's, you know what? I
You
spoke
have
to
to remove-
someone else, and they're a lefty, like a proper full-on hardcore lefty, which weirdly I can get on with them because you can talk with them as long as they're up for talking. And he said to me that Britain's immigration policy is insane. He says it makes Biden's immigration policy look positively moderate, and that we are going to have. He said his exact words, I think, were, he said, you have a woke Hamas in your country already, and you have got woke madrasas all over your country, and this is just the beginning of what it is. And I think Brits have probably gone. One of the reasons maybe why they won't vote for the Tories is they've just gone, well, no one's going to make it any better.
No, because no one cares and no one's proud. So we need to bring pride in our country back. We need to bring the idea that you can be patriotic, you can be a supporter of your nation, and that's the thing that brings us together. That's the unity, that we are all British. Doesn't matter what religion you are, doesn't matter what skin color you are. We all unite under His Majesty the King
and the flag.
And the flag.
Have you seen in America that mayor has gone no flags unless?
Well, that's why, because their flag is their king, right? They don't have. We have a physical living embodiment of what it means to be British. They have their flag. So in order to attack their nation, they attack the flag.
Yeah. Well, I just dread another summer of that fucking flag that's got even more colours on it now.
Well, it's a sign of dominance, isn't it? They're showing we have conquered the land. Rainbow flags all the way up Regent Street because this is our land now.
Yeah, but it's not a very nice religion.
No.
I don't like the woke religion. And also, I don't really like people seeking elected office stood in front of Palestinian flags in Great Britain. Call me old-fashioned.
Well, it's funny because they used to attack us for flags. Like St. George's Cross got attacked from no end by called racist for people who happen to have their national flag up. The same with the Union Jack now at this point, or the Union flag. And yet they put their flag up, and not only their flags, not just the LGBT rainbow flag, but also foreign flags such as the so-called Palestinian flag. It's like, wait a minute, either flags are xenophobic and racist and bigoted, or they're not.
Are you trying to say that they might be the exact thing that they accuse you of?
That's your tagline.
It's mad. It's mad. Anyway, so to wrap up our thoughts on reform, nice that that there's shaking it up a bit. Bit worried about the fact that we'll get loads of Labour. I'm not convinced there's a political solution to this problem. I think it's a cultural issue.
I agree with you. And it's also never good to have one MP. You know, you had the same issue with Bridgen. UKIP had the same problem with Carswell. And I'm assuming that Richard Tice is going to have a similar problem with Lee Anderson. It's never good to have just a chairman or a leader and a politician. It's not a good dynamic.
Well, Tice is going to stand in Hartlepool. You know that.
Again.
That bastion of public school.
I think, no, good for him. I think it's good. Like, pick a target, stick with it, really become part of that community, get to know the people, represent them, because that's what it's about, right? Representing.
Yeah. People aren't being represented at the moment, which I find astonishing, seeing as that's what their job is.
Well, that's why Galloway got in, because he said, look, I'm going to represent the Mohammedans of Rochdale, and the Mohammedans voted for him, and now he's representing them.
Did I ask you why you called them Mohammedans last week?
You did.
Okay, right. And
because it's a Catholic heresy, worshippers or followers of Mohammed.
Mohammedans. All right, okay, your turn. Envelope time.
You've got to give me one now.
Oh, my turn. Right, I've forgotten what I gave. I forgot what I got for you. It might be a love letter. It might be a summons for calling whoever you just called a racist, because that really works.
I stand by that. Nick Griffin is a racist.
All right, go for it. You're allowed to. It's an opinion nowadays.
So Keir Starmer wants to legalise assisted dying in next Parliament. This is just demonic. This is wicked, wicked stuff.
I knew you'd like this one.
But again, so this is the work of the enemy, right? The enemy paints
Stop
things.
flapping your envelope. Throw it on the floor.
Paints things as compassionate and paints it as a good thing. Like, to let people die, who are suffering, let them die with dignity. It's like, first of all, it's not our choice when we die. Like, just as it's not our choice when we are conceived or born. This is the gift of God. Life is in his hands. And the enemy is like, no, it's not God. It's you. You are the God. It's in your hands. But of course,
who's the enemy?
Satan.
Right, great.
But of course, it's not about compassion. It's about murder, state-sponsored murder. I don't trust the state. I don't trust the NHS. I don't trust politicians or so-called public servants to have the power to end a human life. I don't trust them to give me my newspaper on time, never mind end a human life.
I have absolutely zero trust in the state. There is, but I suppose I've got my difficult. I share your sentiment, right? But I can also see somebody with a terminal condition who is in so much pain and just wants it to end. I can see and I can understand why someone would do that. Would want to be in control of the end of their life. I can sort of see that. But I'm with you. I mean, the problem is with these things is not so much that I'm against. Actually, I do think it's a crime to I do think it's not your choice.
But it's not even control. It's a fake control.
But it's difficult because it is definitely one of those thin end of the wedge issues as well. So even if this was, I mean, bearing in mind that the state are dreadful at everything, what would happen is all of the things that people worry about happening, which is encouraging parents to, we could do with a house now. We're a bit skint. Come on, 90-year-old dad, can you just shuffle it off, that mortal coil? But also seeing where it's been done already. So you look at the medical assistants in dying, maid. Yeah. I hate these
fake
people.
Compassionate names.
I hate it, and they're killing killing young people. They're killing people that are depressed. You don't kill depressed people. I hate the pathologization of the human spirit. It drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It's like everyone, and also they're so permanently offended, these people, that they don't understand. They're unwilling to suffer in any way at all, to the point where they just go, "Well, I'll just kill myself because I can't suffer." It's like life's hard.
Life has become about avoiding suffering, absolutely, and this is again the work of the enemy, because Christ came to teach us how to suffer well. As horrible as that sounds, it's because life is suffering, and a large part of that is sanctifying. But also, he taught us that he suffers along with us because he suffered for us, and there's so many lessons to be taken from that. But if we avoid suffering, we avoid him, and this is why the enemy wins. And of course, it is a slippery slope. And the hard left, or the people pushing this, the liberals, whoever they are, will say, well, it's about control, it's about dignity, and it's about letting people decide for themselves. But of course it's not. It's never about those extreme situations. It's never about your great uncle who's got a really life-ending disease. He's never going to get better and he's in a lot of pain. It's never really about that. That is always the way they get in. Yeah. And then within a matter of weeks or months, it changes. You mentioned Canada. 10,000 people a year are dying through assisted suicide in Canada. And you're right in that they're now lowering their age so that teenagers can say, actually, I'm a bit depressed. Could I go down this track? Like, what teenager hasn't felt a bit depressed at one point or another?
That's all the trans stuff anyway, because, I do, again, I go back to this, like, they're doing it with childhood as well, the pathologization of childhood. It's like, I've having some back and forth, as I think you may have noticed online, about these terms that these fucking shrinks use, like intrusive thoughts. I'm like, they're children. They're going through puberty. Yeah. I'd be worried if they didn't have intrusive thoughts. And also stop using wanky medical jargon. Just say existential moments, right, or worries. Everyone worries a bit when they go through puberty. Yeah. You do. You worry. Most of my worries about going through puberty were the fact that I went through it after everybody else.
But this is all a mental issue, right? And this is the problem. Again, in Canada, they've made it so even if it's just a mental health concern, so it's no longer about physical pain. It's no longer about life-ending diseases or illnesses. It's now about how you think and how you feel inside yourself. So that it quickly switches.
And they did that. They did that film. Have you seen it? I think it's called The Bridge, about the Golden Gates Bridge. No. And then it's the top suicide spot. And there's a guy who goes and talks people down. And his way of doing it is he goes to people, "What do you got? Have you got any plans for tomorrow?" And they're like, "No, of course I don't have any plans for tomorrow. I'm killing myself." And he tries to get them to talk about their plans for tomorrow. Anyway, the documentary covers the survivors, and almost without fail, actually totally without fail, the minute they stepped, they thought they made a mistake. The minute, everyone, and it's not many people survive that drop, but they thought, and the thought of someone suffering obscene amounts of fear, worry, the fact that you're not going to be able to turn back on this one huge decision it is very, very concerning. And to do this to kids and pathologize what it's like to be alive, what you do is you make children frightened.
Yeah.
If you constantly try and stop children from suffering or stop them from feeling pain, they're not equipped to deal with pain later on in life. But if you reassure them and you go, like, it's fine, you're all right, it's not going to kill you, it's not the end of the world. A modern therapist would say, yeah, but you're not dealing with your child's feelings. And I go, no, I'm taking responsibility for their feelings because I'm giving them the skills that they need when they grow up to reassure themselves and to calm themselves down. And, you know, both you and I have been through a whole load of shite. And, you know, you're brilliant when I'm much more temperamental. Well, maybe not. I'm just not as good at getting on top of it as you are. But, you know, if I hadn't had my parents going, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. You know, that thing.
Well, that's it. So there's on the one hand, there's training and forming young people so that they have the resilience when they grow older, but also for adults, being there for people. This is a symptom of a much larger problem, especially for the elderly. We've forgotten that we have a responsibility, a duty and an obligation to care for our elderly. We want to palm people off to care homes, to care workers, to third parties. It's us. We should be doing it.
Yeah, we should be doing it. But we're talking about, you know, assisted suicide. I'd buy a pod, given the choice between a pod and a care home, getting beaten up by some underpaid person who's, you know, can't speak the language and is malevolent. You see,
well, you've got two great kids, so hopefully one of them will be taking care of you in your infirmity. I know which one it will be.
I know too. I know the other one will be going, what's wrong? What's wrong? I need to go out. Come on, we're late. We're like, I'm dying, but I want to go to the beach.
The beach. Bless him.
Bless him.
You've got good kids, but this is the point, right? This is why we have families, because we are there for each other. The adult helps raise the child, and when the child becomes an adult, they help look after the elderly and the infirm.
So, do you think it's symptomatic of the fact that the family is? See, I've been saying it publicly now this week, that I think that there is an all-out 100% total war on the family.
Yes, yes.
All of this. We're going to pay for more childcare. It's like there's nothing wrong with either parent. I used to do it when I was married to my former wife. She would go off and work and I'd look after the kids. I mean, I know it's slightly different because we had, you know, and we're privileged in lots of ways in the fact that, you know, I could work and then she could work, but I didn't farm out the caring of my children, and my relationship with my kids is now is real. I cook for them every night. I go, you know, I look after them.
I think that most people are in that position. I do genuinely think most people can have one parent look after the children while one parent works. The problem is, again, we're not willing to sacrifice, and we want to live privileged. All of us want to live privileged upper middle class lifestyles. Yeah, and I can't say this often enough, because people have these £1,000 computer phones in their pockets and a car each and a nice big house. Like, we could scale down, we could size down, we could lower our expectations for materialistic things in order to have a proper, more solid family.
Hang on a minute, you're supporting ESG, degrowth.
No, the opposite.
WEF Calvin.
Even conservatives and Christians, you know, I was having a conversation with a Christian broadcaster the other day. She said, you know, I was thinking about giving up my work to look after my kids, but actually my work is so important and I love it so much. And I'm thinking, what are your kids not important? Do you not love your kids so much? Like, the priorities we have are warped.
It's also, I also think it was a great ruse when they did when they just doubled the tax burden. It was just like, now we can have two, and I'm not sure I'm not sure it's led to huge amounts of happiness.
No,
I don't think people seem. All of this shit that's being done on us, tried on us, all of these sort of plans. And I went to see this climate movie, Climate: The Cold Truth. And there's they've got a Nobel physics guy there. And he just goes, it's a complete scam. It's a hoax. And why, when no evidence points to climate change, or that carbon dioxide is the problem, there's just no evidence. The climate changes all the time. But he was saying you'd have all of this IPCC bollocks is you'd have to, it works a treat as long as you just forget the fact that there's the existence of this giant ball of nuclear fusion that's keeping the whole galaxy going. But we as a people have decided, I think it's a narcissism, isn't it? Or a need for panic to go, I've got to control everything all the time, and that's what. But none of their predictions ever come true, and yet we're heading towards net zero and blowing up coal power.
Well, I think it's more sinister than that. I think a lot of people are making a lot of money off net zero and all these carbon projects. A lot of big business is invested in this, so of course they're selling it left, right, and centre as a new religion, and people are lapping it up because people don't have a religion anymore. They don't have a faith anymore. So they're saying, okay, well, yeah, I need to look after Mother Earth. Of course I do, bowing down to Mother Earth while paying extra taxes for the more expensive boilers, more expensive cars, more expensive kettles, etc. And the people who are making all the money in the solar panels and buying out all the farmland, they're laughing.
My kettle's pretty expensive. It's see-through.
Is it?
Yeah.
But is it an EU-safe, low boiling, low temperature
low wattage
nonsense
pile of crap? No, I think that's ridiculous. And also, we are the West is the only one who was signing up for it. China couldn't give a shite.
Of course. China and India are the ones who are producing all of these carbon emissions, but they're, again, laughing at us, building more and more coal factories.
Yeah, but we should. What's the point of maximum? No wonder people want to top themselves and want assisted dying in places like Canada. I mean, I'd watch like an hour of Justin Trudeau on the TV, and I'd want to take myself off and find a sturdy branch.
Well, I don't know about that, but they certainly need to vote him out. I don't know how he got re-elected.
Sinful? Am I speaking sinfully?
I don't know, but I just think.
But it's a sign, isn't it?
Ourselves, right? Because we get the politicians we deserve because we vote them in.
But in Africa, and there's a great segment in this movie. In Africa, these farmers are sitting there. A third of the food in Kenya goes off before it gets eaten, right?
Right.
Because us lot have decided you're not going to have fossil fuels, you're not going to have refrigerators, you're not going to have all the things that we have because, we regret doing it. Yeah. And then that weird paradox between the fact that it is elite, rich scumbags who fly around the world lecturing poor people. Yeah. At what point do the people just go, you know what, I'm fucking fed up of it. I am fed up of it.
I think now.
Do you think it's...
people are fed up of it.
Because I also met Tommy last week. I know you've hung out with Tommy, and I sat talking to him, and that man's been at it for years, and the way that the establishment have gone after him and basically made his life unbearable, it has had such a weight on him. And and he's a really smart guy. Well,
much like you, he refused to play the game, right? He's clearly working class kid from a football town. Kind of, he should have known his place. He should have stayed down in his ranks, but he didn't. He wanted to speak up and make a difference in his country. And you're the same. Like, Harrow boy, you're supposed to mix in certain circles and speak a certain way, but you're not. You're out there and you say what you think, and people are like, wait a minute, get back in your lane.
Why are they so scared of people that say what they think? Because it breaks the narrative, that stupid approved narrative, which is shoved at us by every single media channel and every single organization.
It's disruption.
But the difference this time around is that we've got these £1,000 computers in our pockets, right? So they can't lie to us anymore. The police can't lie to us that how they arrested this guy.
Well,
you can get the information that you need.
We can when they let us.
Yeah.
Even that's an illusion. Everyone's like praising Elon Musk right now because he's opened up Twitter. But before him, all of the social media networks were controlled by the liberals. We couldn't talk about things over COVID. We were censored on the biggest marketplace there is. And now he's opened it up to some degree. But what does that mean? There's still certain conversations that can't be had. We don't have a public market square anymore.
No, we really don't. And also our market square being online is really bad. Yes. Because you're having conversations with people you think you know, but you don't know them.
But also they can shut it down like that. And other countries have. Lots of my content is not available in Germany. Because they're just totalitarian and they say, you cannot view that kind of content.
What content?
Oh, lots of stuff on Facebook.
They don't let me. I could get a lot of, I haven't had one for a while actually.
And also tweets, you get quite a lot of tweets saying, this has been blocked in Germany, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Germans are not liking the tweets.
But we're down the same track with our online safety bill. So this is why viewers of this should download a VPN now, today, because you don't know when you're going to get censored.
Can we have a VPN sponsor, please, for Fox and Father?
Yeah.
I really like ExpressVPN.
What was that?
That was my Ben Shapiro impression. You didn't like it? It's fine. A bit rusty. They don't let me do the job I passionately loved anymore in the modern world. It's I'm not allowed to do that because I don't believe that all white people are evil.
Maybe you weren't called to do that. Maybe this is your calling.
Well, if it is my
You could
calling,
have other plans in mind for you.
it's seriously painful and is costing me pretty much everything. So
Sounds like a calling to me.
oh, thanks, Calv. This is what I never get. I always want like just that little bit more sympathy. And yours is like, it's life.
Yeah.
That's how life is.
It
Life is
takes
hard.
sacrifice to do good things.
Yeah.
Keep at it.
Yeah. Well, good. That was a bit. Oh God! Like the envelope 3.
Let's look at Theon's envelope.
Theon loves the.
He loves a good old
He
cigar.
loves the cigar smoke a lot. He's got, for those of you who are watching, he's got his jumper round his throat, around his mouth. Okay. Landmark NHS ban on giving children puberty blockers sparks row as trans campaigners slam. Cruel move, but ex-patients say it was insane. Kids were ever given the powerful drugs. Right.
Cruel move, stopping the physical and chemical mutilation of children. Cruel. Again, with a fake compassion. It's how the enemy works, isn't it? It's, again, an attack on the family, because children who go through this trans ideology come out the other end barren, right? They are unable to produce.
Cancers, osteoporosis. Then some of them never have an orgasm, so that's their entire sex.
Right.
A lot of suicides are down to people just going, they're never going to have an orgasm.
Okay. Well, I knew that the suicide rate is up 7 years after a transition than it is. It's much higher than it is before, because they always use that emotional blackmail, don't they?
What?
You've got to stop children committing suicide by letting them transition. Well, actually, they transition, and then 7 years later they commit suicide.
And why on earth? Which fucking lunatic thought that taking a kid who's got some emotional issues, and often these kids have got diagnoses of various things.
Yeah, quite often
take
on the spectrum.
Troubled child and telling them that cutting their dick off is going to make them feel better.
It's literally insane.
That's what I mean by we live in a morally inverse world.
Yeah.
I don't understand it at all.
In a liberal society, you can argue that adults can do whatever they like. I would probably argue against it. I'm sure you'd argue for it. But for children...
What do you mean I'm sure you'd argue for it?
A bit of a liberal, Laurence. But for children, it should never be acceptable.
I can't deal with this anymore.
There's no such thing.
Bit of a liberal.
There's no such thing as a trans child. It's impossible.
I'm a Nazi. That's what Sadiq Khan said.
This is what I don't understand about people who are calling you all these names. You're a massive liberal.
Am I really a massive liberal?
Yeah, you think, as long as they're consenting adults, it's no one else's business, right? That's your ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live and let
That's
live.
liberalism.
Live and let live.
Yeah, whereas I think there's an objective good and an
But
objective...
I do also think there's an objective good. I still think you should live and let live. Like, and if a consenting adult, I don't think it's. I don't think it's particularly healthy for.
I think it's inappropriate for a man to be dressed as a woman. I think it's inappropriate for a man to get a boob job and to slice off his appendages and act as if he is a woman. I think that's wrong. If I saw a man doing that in the pub, I'd say, "Come on, mate, sort yourself out."
Well, he hopefully wouldn't be chopping his own dick off in the pub.
No, but back in the day, if a man turned up in the pub dressed as a woman, the blokes would say, "What are you doing? Come on." But now it's like, "Oh, are you okay, my darling?" It's like, what? No, that's not a woman.
It's also pandering it's pandering towards people who aren't, instead of taking the people that are good, the role models that you want in life, and pointing children in those directions and going, like, I don't know, I can't think of a good example recently, which goes to show just how bereft we are of great role models in this country. Instead of pointing kids in that direction, we're pointing them in the direction of, some dude in a dress with an autogynephiliac fetish for going into girls' loos and having a wank.
Absolutely. It's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed. It's inappropriate, entirely inappropriate for a civilized society.
But that we got lost in the adult land, but let's go back into the child land. So back to the idea, it's really not a good idea when a child is suffering and is worried to think that there's a medical solution, which there isn't. So what are your thoughts about the puberty blockers and it being banned? You're very, very pro.
Absolutely. I think puberty blockers are evil. I think they're chemical castration. They are the same drugs that we give to rapists and pedophiles. So why are we giving them to children?
We don't give them, the Americans.
Well, the Americans do. I just think, I mean, it's an old cliche at this point, but if someone says, I feel like I'm a disabled person, I feel like I only have one leg, you wouldn't say, okay, let's chop off one leg. Yeah. So if someone comes to you and says, I feel like I'm in the wrong body, I feel like I should have been born a woman, but I'm a boy, you wouldn't say, okay, let's make you a woman. You should say, okay, let's talk through that. Let's find out what's going on. What is it about being a boy that you don't feel you can align with anymore? Let's realign your brain with your body. Let's get you back in synchronization with yourself.
And get them excited about it. Like, the bar mitzvahs and the stuff, it was a rite of passage to become a man. And I always say to my boys, because they're getting, little one is getting into the age of going like, his desire to like be with girls is beating his hormone level at the moment. And I'm like, you're going to be a man one day, it's going to be great. And I think it's the parents that, maybe some of it is the parents going, I certainly think with showbiz people, they're destroying their children's lives.
When you see a showbiz person with 3 trans kids, you think, wait, what are the chances of that? Well, nil. Naught.
There's no such thing as a trans kid.
So it's been pushed on them.
Parents having one trans kid is impossible because you can't be a trans child.
But even the parents that aren't pushing it on their children, it's this liberal secular society that's saying actually men are no different to women are no different to men, and you can interchange. Man can become a woman and woman can become a man. Like that all started with feminism, with the idea that women are the same as men. And
the
F
word is out.
Yes, because that's where it all began. That was the first trans movement. It was feminism. The idea that women should become the same as men, because that's what equality isn't the same. We are compatible. We are complementary.
It's the same but different.
But we are not. Yeah,
isn't it equality?
Equality. I mean, I don't think equality exists, but if we're pushing for an argument of equality, I would say we're equal in the eyes of God in terms of dignity and wealth, but everything else is different. We have lots of similarities, of course we do, because we're the same species, but we are made for different things, and that's a good thing. So celebrate our differences, and that's what brings us together.
And do you think now that this contagion looks like it's been stopped in the UK, so it looks like that, those parents, even liberal parents who are like, they haven't made a decision about the trans thing, whether they will now look at this and say, hang on a minute, the government have said we're stopping this. So do you think this is the beginning of the end of transgenderism?
No, because Labour are going to get in a few months. It will probably come back. But also, I don't think it's far enough. I think anyone that has mutilated a child, whether it's surgically or medically or chemically, they need to be prosecuted.
Yeah, that's what they've been saying in America. It's like not the parents that need to be prosecuted, or the children, or it's the doctors.
Absolutely.
And it's and I hate to say it, but I don't think I am that washy a liberal. I think late term abortionist doctors should be done for murder. Yeah, well, that's what I would say, because I can't. That's just me.
Well, that's good.
But I'm and as you know from our personal private experience, I'm not good on early term of that stuff as well. So if they're going to stop the puberty blockers, that means that children will have to go through puberty. So that means that I can see the argument to try and steel man their point of view. If you're going to try and create transgender people, puberty is a major problem.
And again, it's about
get them early.
Well, it's about avoiding suffering again, isn't it? Because someone put this to me the other day, and I'd never thought about it before, because puberty for boys is very different to puberty for girls, right? Yeah. For us, it's a bit awkward for a short period, but for girls, it's a really traumatic experience. And again, they want to avoid that suffering, and people want them to avoid that suffering. And so this is a way out. This is why it's a vast number of girls becoming boys, right? Because they're avoiding all of that suffering. Well, let's teach them how to suffer well. Let's teach them it's natural. Let's teach them the benefits of going through puberty and what they come out on the other side as.
You're going to be a mother one day.
The greatest vocation there is.
And that poor woman who was just in tears that you saw, who couldn't breastfeed her child because she'd made this decision. Yeah, how any responsible adult can allow this contagion to take hold in children. I think that's just, it's so irresponsible. And yet the state we're sort of promoting it until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, the Conservative government. But like I say, the Labour Party is going to get in.
Everything that's coming to them. 14 years they've overseen the complete Marxist revolution in this country.
Yeah,
that's what they've had. And Starmer's actually saying he says some pretty dreadful things.
No, he's going to be the same, but on steroids. We just talked about him bringing in assisted suicide, for goodness sake. He's going to do the same he's going to bring the trans stuff back. Everything Conservatives have done, he's going to do the same thing, but worse. Our country is stuffed for a few years.
So what's the reaction going to be? Is it going to be you, me, Tommy, Katie, Neil Oliver?
Yeah, it is. Let's get out there.
a bunch of
Let's
people.
start the revolution. Let's stop talking about it and launch
No,
it.
but what happens when you start the revolution and someone decides they want to kick someone's head in? That's my fear about revolution. What's a peaceful revolution look like?
It's very difficult.
They don't go well. If someone starts a peaceful revolution, they're all walking around with umbrellas. And then, not long after that, you get someone violent comes in. That's what happens.
Well, I think we have to keep it Christ-centered, keep it focused on him, keep it prayerful, and make sure that people know that it's peaceful. And
a lot of harm
because there are a lot of people that
after people have prayed, though, Calv.
Sorry,
a lot of death has been done after people have prayed.
A lot of death has been done after people have prayed.
Battles and things like that.
Well, we're not going to war, not literally.
Well, we're so divided. The society is so divided that it's like...
But unless we find a peaceful solution, it will end in civil war. So we've got to come up with something.
Did you watch Joe Biden's State of the Union address?
Yeah.
What did you make?
Well, I didn't see the address, but I saw the hot mic afterwards. Or was it?
What was the hot mic afterwards?
When he said he's spoken to Netanyahu and said he needs to come to Jesus. I was like, whoa, accidentally based Biden.
Based Biden. Maybe Biden does too.
That's what I tweeted. They both need. I pray they both find Jesus.
Judge not lest ye be judged, and all of that sort of stuff. What's the week got in store for you this week? Next, moving forward.
I haven't thought about what's coming up. I have no idea. I've got my other show that's just happened at 3 p.m. today, which I'll be doing later. I'm going to Norway for the weekend with my church and spend some time with my bishop, so that'll be good.
I met the bishop that ordained you.
Yeah,
I liked
good man.
him.
He's a really nice man.
So that'll be nice. You've got Norway, and then you're still not. You're going to stay. You're not leaving me, are you, Cal?
Well, I don't know. I've just told my landlord that I'm not renewing my tenancy agreement, so I'm looking for somewhere else now.
Right. I have gone after the weekend. I am now pretty much going. I think London is gone. I really do.
But what does it mean? This is a way to start a soft revolution, right? It's like everyone moves to an area that is not a major city, that is still a community, or maybe it's a dead community, and you rebuild it. You build a thriving Christian community. I've seen the Americans doing it plenty.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about becoming Mormons and set up some separate. I'm talking about live within a community and build it up and be how we used to be, a parish.
Yeah. How much of that, just to be a douche back to you, how much of that is just sort of jingoistic, sort of sentimental national chauvinism, and how much of it is like, it was all music was always better? I mean, I genuinely think music was like, I've reached the point in my life where I think music was a lot better. I mean, there's still some great music, but sort of pop music, I listen to it, I'm like,
so there, of course, there's an element of like we're aging, so we don't appreciate pop music as much as younger people do. But also,
everyone likes a good tune.
But when looking at society, we can see that it's clearly shifted quite dramatically over a short period of time. Over the last 100 years, our society has plummeted in many ways. But people say, "Oh, yes, but of course, there's less poverty now, and there's less this and that now." Of course, doesn't mean that everything has gone down the pan, but a lot of things are. Our culture is not thriving. Our society.
We don't have a culture anymore. We're not. That's why people don't know what to protect, because they don't have a. I've always thought the British culture is really simple, which is equality under the law.
No, I think this is the British values that Michael Gove made up. Equality under law,
equality under law
rule
is
of law,
really important.
diversity,
it doesn't exist.
And tolerance. These are the British values that Conservatives made up.
I hate diversity as a word. You've ruined a word that I used to like.
That's just.
But equality under law is really important.
Our culture is not those values. Our culture is everything from William Shakespeare to the King James Bible to fish and chips, a cup of tea after every crisis.
Where fish and chips came from.
But it's not about where they came from. It's about what we've united around for centuries and how we live. Like we have that stiff upper lip, and we say, you've just lost your job. Come and have a cup of tea. Like it's the small things, and add all those small things up, and that is our culture. It's who we are.
A series of small and slightly undefinable things that come together to make something.
Because we Brits, we're made up of the English, the Scots, the Welsh, the Northern Irish together. They all have their own distinct cultures, but bring it all together, that's British culture. And then we have lots in common with our European neighbours, but lots of things, idiosyncrasies that we don't have in common with them, and they are the things that make us British.
They are the things that make us British. I just think that we've forgotten it, and if not, the media political complex makes us feel ashamed of it.
Yeah, they don't want us to remember it.
Why not? Because they want a...
Well, it's globalism, isn't it? It's that we're all part of one big global society. There's no such thing as nationhood or even family. We all belong to this universal one government.
It's just like the hippies, but much angrier.
Yeah.
Well, my view is that whatever their utopian plan is, it's not working, and everyone's miserable.
There's
So
no
I wasn't
utopian
attacking
works.
you and saying that
No, that's
we
fine.
shouldn't. I'm just saying I do hark back to a time where it wasn't shoved in your face. Like, I watched a film on Netflix the other day called Nefarious.
Oh yeah.
Right, and I thought I'll watch this because I like dramas that are set in one room because there's nowhere for the actor to hide.
Yeah.
I also love war films, but I really like a drama set in one room. And these two actors are going at it. One of them is the serial killer who's possessed by the devil, and the other one is the guy who's got to decide whether he's sane and he's going to die whether he can be put to death legally, which is a good concept for a film. Anyway, there's this one bit in the film, out of nowhere, the psychiatrist that's deciding whether he's going to let him off or not, the guy goes, "The world is disgusting in a way. It's so awful and it's evil." And this guy goes, "No, we've done so much for diversity. We care about Black Lives Matter. We've done Pride." And you're just like, it's in a fucking script.
Oh gosh.
And it just killed the film. And generations
Also, he's proving the other guy's point.
Yeah. You cynical bastard, Robertson, you cynical bastard. Anyway, it's been lovely speaking to you.
You too.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
God bless.
God bless.